Hey everybody, this is Craig Garber. Welcome to Everyone Loves Guitar. I am like so stoked to have Joe Satriani back on the show. I just want to tell everybody, and I know Joe's going to be embarrassed, but I've interviewed a lot of people and they say how nice Joe is. You have no idea. This guy is such a genuine, nice guy. And it is like, will do anything to help Joe out. He's a great guy. So, just on that alone, forget about that he's a brilliant musician. You should be supporting his music. That being said, Joe's got a new album out called Shapeshifting. It's a great record. It's really different. We're going to talk about it. Quick thank you to Melissa Dragic Cordero for connecting and setting this up. And make sure you go to everyonelovesguitar.com/subscribe. Joe is actually on the show around this time last year, as a matter of fact. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tack his original interview onto the back of this in case you didn't hear it. And if you did hear it, you need to listen to it again because it's one of the best interviews I did. All right, man. Thank you so much for coming on the show in this twilight zone we're living in.
Yeah, so I'm very happy to be here. Thank you so much for having me on. It's always great to talk to you.
Thank you.
And thank you for that wonderful introduction.
It's my pleasure. Hey, first of all, I want to congratulate you. I hope my counting was correct. Is this like your 39th record?
I'm not counting. Every once in a while I get those numbers thrown at me and I go, really? But because there have been so many little pieces, live records, compilations, I think it's my 17th studio full-length record, I've seen 18 thrown around. I can't figure that out myself. Only have 10 fingers, so after 10, I stop counting. But,
I counted 39 with all your other side projects over 36 years, man. That is really awesome. So congratulations. That's incredibly difficult to do, man, for any human being, And I had a little note here.
I can't believe it. I've had so much fun doing it. So.
Which is a wonderful, and it shows in the work you do and the way you put it out, man. And you're super organized too. We had talked a minute ago about you had certain things queued up. That's really like impressive because it's not common either. But I thought to myself, you've come a long way from putting that $5,000 on your credit card to pay for that first record. Thank God for that, and congratulations.
What a crazy idea that was.
Hey, man, it worked. And plus, how the hell do you think up titles for like 500 to 700 instrumental songs? That's not very easy either.
It's really hard when you really feel strongly about a piece of music and you're trying to distill all that emotion into a few words. I mean, it's really sometimes it doesn't roll off the tongue, like always with me, always with you. I remember thinking that's what it should be called, but thinking people are just always going to screw this up and it's all my fault, because it doesn't roll off the tongue, like Summer Song or something like that. And then other times I'm so overwhelmed that I just give up. And that's how I came up with 10 words, because I just had pages and pages of words describing how I felt about the song, but I just couldn't put it into like a snappy, 3-word title. And because I thought it would be a disservice for the music, to whittle it down like that. So I'll tell you what's harder is that I'm at home here like everybody else in San Francisco all day long. And I have to come up with titles for my paintings. We're on this schedule to do like a gallery tour next year.
Oh, that's awesome, man.
Canvases, and I never signed them or titled them. I never thought anyone would ever see them. But now the guys I'm dealing with say, well, no, you got to give them titles and you've got to sign them. And now that's hard.
Yeah, because you got to get back in the state of mind you were in when you did it.
Yes, yeah. And songs are different for me. They've got a lot more meaning behind them, but paintings, I can paint, 50 versions of the same creepy looking dude. I don't know how to come up with all the different titles, except say number 1, number 2, number 3.
Maybe that's it. Oh, you call it one set. You call it a set, and then you got number 1 in the set. Then people who are collectors, they got to get all of them, man.
That's right.
Hey man, in the past, I would describe a lot of your songs as like powerful. And by the way, when you said always with me, always with you, that song is so defining. The second you started saying always with, I heard the opening of the song. So it's funny how perfect that title. I mean, it's defined, you know, your career in many ways, you know. In the past, I'd probably describe a lot of your songs as like powerful, energetic, amazing, fierce. But I actually thought there are a number of songs on this record that were like flat out pretty, you know, very moving and like beautiful, you know, which was great. I connected emotionally with a lot of these tracks, and I just wanted to ask you about some of them. The first one is Ali Farka, Dick Dale, and Alien and Me. And I thought it was really cool because the title, you know, mirrors the flow of the music in the track, right? But I was curious, which came first? Did you write the song first, or did you decide, hey, I want to mix random genre? You know, how did that song work?
Are you looking to buy or sell a home in the Tampa Bay area without having to deal with pushy realtors? Then make sure you connect with West Florida Real Estate. West Florida Real Estate has helped over 300 homeowners and investors buy and sell their properties over the last 5 years. Their service is outstanding, just like back in the days when there was actually service in the service business, and you'll never have to deal with any kind of sales junk when you're working with them. For more information, email Ann with an E at westfloridarealestate.com. That's ANNE at westfloridarealestate.com. If you're enjoying this show and you'd like to support it, go to everyonelovesguitar.com/support. And for information on advertising, visit everyonelovesguitar.com/advertise.
Oh, well. So it's a funny story, and it's rather complicated. So we probably spoke about this, you know, a year ago, how I've been working with a writing partner and musician, Ned Evett, on a science fiction story called Crystal Planet. We're like 5 or 6 years into it, still trying to work it. And years ago, I started to record what would be like musical cues that we would use as we started to put together demos for this animated sci-fi series. And some really cool pieces of music would come out of it. And sometimes I'd sit down on my keyboard here in my studio, and I would just improvise cues based on the scripts that Ned was kicking out about the different episodes. And there'd be some pretty crazy pieces of music. Some of them were guitar oriented, some not. So fast forward a couple of years, I'm reviewing some of these things just for fun. I come across this kind of weird trip hop North African feeling thing, and I got my guitar on, and I'm thinking, this reminds me of like Ali Farka Touré if he was like, you know, shot into the future and he had an electronic band. And I started to just sort of, you know, imitate him and pay homage to like what I always thought was so cool about his guitar style. And I thought, this is becoming something. And I made a recording of it with my phone. And then this is last year, and we're out on the first leg of the Experience Hendrix tour. And I keep listening to this thing every day, and I'm thinking, this is going to be like a real tribute song. I'm going to finish it. I'm going to somehow take this minute and a half of me jamming with this computer improv, and I'm going to turn it into a real song. And then we got the sad news that Dick Dale passed away. And I was thinking, wow, you know, I never got to meet him. I never got to see him in concert, but the sound of his music has been in my head ever since I've been alive. I mean, it's just, he's been omnipresent. Defined a genre, you know, and I thought I need to include him in this, and I didn't know how. It was just a crazy idea, and I thought, well, what's my theme? What's the movie in my head that's going to get me to the point where I can emotionally apply myself in a very truthful way, you know? So, and this is just gives you an insight in how I work, right? So I thought, okay, what if, right? We're all there at a party where, you know, the typical Long Island kid thinking it's late at night, we're in the desert, we're at an oasis, it's beautiful, and we just all happen to be there. Ali Farka's there with his guitar, Dick Dale shows up somehow, I'm there and an alien visits and we all decide to jam party. Really cool. So I was laughing at myself as I'm daydreaming this, and I'm thinking, okay, I'm really weird, but maybe this is going to, provide the imagery I need to figure out like what would happen when Ollie started playing with his unusual technique, and then he looked at Dick Dale. What would Dick do? How would he say, yeah, okay, I'll take it from here, and then he would hand it over to me and then to the alien, and how would that work? So when I got back after the first leg of the tour, I said, okay, let's get serious, and opened up Pro Tools, and I started to lay it out. The cool thing about Pro Tools is very much like manuscript paper. You see the music right in front of you, and it goes from left to right, and it makes perfect sense. So where I'm, writing on manuscript or looking at the Pro Tools window, it's the same to me, so it's a great way to write. And then I just slowly pieced it together. And then I'll tell you what I found out was that it's easy to imitate Dick Dale for about 5 seconds. It's really hard to play anywhere near as good as him for like a minute. You realize like, oh my God, it's like, because it's easy to pick fast, but to create the proper sound that he created, that's a whole other kind of alchemy magic that he had. And it was exhilarating putting that together. It was so much fun to send the demo out to Chris and Kenny and Eric, and then Jim Scott, and then to get to the studio, and that one day where we were just laughing at my stupid story about the party, how we were all going to apply this crazy story to how we played, and it was just really great how the whole thing, all the way to the very end. I mean, I was writing little bits right to the last day, the last minute that I played guitar on it, and Jim did an amazing job mixing all the songs on the record, and this one was a task, because it had these things that had to weave in and out of each other,
But it was great, and you can definitely hear like the separate, when the African music and when it was very specific, and it all worked, which was really cool about it, man.
Oh, I'm so glad you like it.
Loved it. Teardrops, man, that was like a beautiful song, I thought. You had multiple guitar tracks. They were either complementing each other or playing together with a real haunting kind of melody. And what was the backstory to that? Really pretty song, man.
Yeah, thank you. That one was a trick, a bit of a puzzle for a number of reasons. The first, I guess, was just the emotional reason for it. Like, how am I going to write this song about an inkling of a feeling that I'm now going to sort of amplify into epic proportions in order to kind of wrestle it to the ground, to harness the sadness, the desperation, to turn it into music, which is a kind of a method for me. Like if I had to, write a song about a leaf falling from a tree, I would imagine maybe that the leaf was 20 feet wide and I was laying on the ground and I saw it falling on top of me or something. And that sort of daydream gets me to really get a handle on how I would represent it musically. If I was just looking out the window and I saw a small leaf fall to the ground, it may not have the same emotional impact on me. So
yeah,
the process of amplifying a feeling is a method that I use to connect the music to the feeling so that I can then make it a reality. So in this particular case, what I was thinking about was regret, and sort of like when you realize that you need to apologize, but it's too late, but you're going to apologize anyway. But what you're saying is, I was trying to imagine all these scenarios, very cinematic, like somebody's just saying, I'm looking back 30 years, 40 years, last week, whatever it might be, and you say, whatever I was doing, whatever I was saying, I was dead wrong. I'm really sorry. And it's so bad that you don't even have to forgive me. You don't even, as a matter of fact, forget my face, forget my name. I'm just saying, I'm sorry, and I'm out of here. You know, I just thinking like, wow, you'd have to be guilty of something really bad. You'd have to feel so out of sync with the world to issue that kind of an apology, right? And to feel such remorse, right? So the reason why I'm telling you this is because it got me to that point where I realized this has to be in an odd time signature to represent the horrible awkwardness that the person singing the song, playing the song is feeling. They're not totally together. You know, it's not something that would be with a solid, regular, dependable beat. It has to be something that's makes you feel uncomfortable. And so there I am. I write this thing, the verse at 7, chorus is in 6. It's kind of like a weird waltz that's stuck in the middle of these 2 meters for the 2 parts of the song. And I finished this song and I make a demo of it. And the first thing it is, I sent it to Eric Codier, who was going to be playing keyboards and doing the editing for the album. And Eric and I go way back, 96, we started working together. He's been in the live band. He's done a lot of records with me. And my question to him was, does this throw you off? Like, does it bug you that the verse is in 7 and, you know, it's in 6? And his reaction was totally emotional. He said, no, this is beautiful.
Yeah.
We have to figure out a way to do this. Now, the other issue was I had this idea, which I really like to do, is I like to arrange guitars like a singer and with a complement of background singers.
Yeah, that's exactly what this sounded like.
All right. So at what point does the singer not say a word and let the background singer say it, you know? And then you can listen to old Aretha Franklin stuff, and it's just brilliant, you know, what she says and then what the other singers say, you know, and how it completes it. Beatles and Stones, you know, there's just so much great music that is done that way. And so I had that in mind, like at some point it needs to sound like a church choir in a way, or an informal bunch of friends standing on a street corner in a park singing. At some point there's a deviation. Somebody in the choir deviates and says something more, and then they all come back together again. On a slight technical issue about this, when you start to add guitars, you know, when you go past 4 and you're doing 6 and 8 tracks, you wind up with problems with frequencies building up. Let's say you got a guitar sound and it's, you know, really nice and thumpy. It's got a bump at 100 or something. It's great when it's just playing a riff by itself. But you have 6 of those guitars together, and that 100 hertz is just killing the mix. You know, so at some point you have to make a decision like, hey, not every guitar can be fat, you know, and if they're all going to be playing together and then they're going to separate, we have to think about this. And then here's another weird thing. I wrote this thing with a drone. The B string, I tune a half step lower. So, but in my guitar, architecturally, I'm playing in B minor. So as the melody is playing da 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 da, I'm also strumming an open B string. And I realized when I made the demo that it was going to be really hard to record because there's this subharmonic information that it becomes huge, and it becomes a problem in the mix. It sounds like it's dissonant because, you know, when you play guitar, which is a horrible thing to try to keep in tune, and you're playing these things up and down the neck, in every spot where you've got a 5th and a 4th and a 3rd, you hear the vibrations rubbing in the subharmonic. So Jim and I had to figure out, okay, how many guitars can we use to take just that one string part? And so what used to be one guitar playing double stops now became two sets of guitars. One of them just played the drone, and the other guitars played the actual melody. And then we doubled those, and then we had to create the second group that would then peel off to play the high part of the second half of the melody in the chorus. it was a very interesting day in the studio, how we had to keep trying different ways of arranging this imaginary, chorus of singers, this choir, and but in the end, it was the song where every time we finished it, doing a take or listening to it back, everyone got choked up and was pretty quiet, because I think
it's a beautiful song.
Certain pieces of music, they draw things out of you when you're in the studio, and really great musicians will open up. They'll let it happen, and they'll give you those great performances that make a song like live forever. It's like so important. And but everyone, I gotta say, thank God, everyone, Chris and Kenny, they all gave all they had.
Yeah, it's so interesting to hear that. I mean, there's so many moving parts there, man, that you gotta.
Yeah, but it's the space. But in the beginning, the joy of letting Kenny's kick drum just sit there at that couple of opening bars there, and it just goes like boom, boom. I mean, that was pretty devastating. And we had more stuff there, but we spent an hour turning stuff off.
It's a great track. Did you feel better? Like, so I don't know if that, I mean, I got to believe there's some part of you or something in your own experience. You live long enough, you can have all these feelings that you were able to relate to. Once it was done, did you feel better? Did you feel like a closure on whatever that you tapped into?
No, not really. I mean, because I was, it was like an inkling of a feeling, and it was it was a creative manufacturing. You know what I mean?
Okay, so it wasn't really.
We all have silly things that you think back like, oh, why did I say that?
Right.
What a stupid thing to say, or but then you, as I said before, you take something and you go, what if it was something truly devastating? It wasn't like, I should have paid for the coffee. Like, why didn't I?
Yeah, it was like major, like, yeah.
Yeah. So let's say if you're painting a picture about how you just thought, oh, I should have pulled my wallet out first, but what if it was something like really bad, like you hesitated to save somebody's life,
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that's heavy.
I mean, I'm fortunate to say I didn't have that moment in, my past where it was so devastating that I was behaving, or I was feeling like this character that I invented for the song.
Right.
But I certainly had enough humorous moments where I thought to myself, yeah, that was stupid. Like, why did I say that? Why did I do that? If you could only go back, and change things. Yeah, so I think if I was writing lyrics, it would be so hard, because you would be forced into putting stuff in that is too personal and it's not relatable to enough people because it's too personal to your experience. For the instrumental, just saying teardrops allows the listener to put in their own feelings into the music without ever having to think, oh, Joe wrote this about, the ultimate apology for something,
Yeah.
This discretion. They don't really have to think about that. They can use thing. It's, part of art is that it is surrendered to, in this case, the listener. You really have no control over it after you put it out, so, but it's interesting because I know that when we were recording it, everyone had something they were thinking about.
Yeah. It's
what the song made them think about, but you could tell everyone was thinking about something.
Yeah. It's it's a great track, man. You had something there. All My Friends Are Here. I thought that was a fun song, really cool melodies, slower pace with some really nice solos, but like, again, great a fun underlying chord structure. So what's going on with that one? Backstory to that.
I was thinking about, there was a few months ago, my son had was asking me about traveling back to New York to attend friend's wedding, and I was thinking about that, how it connected to the song that I had started writing months earlier, and it reminded me that what I was working off of was this incredible friendship that he's had with his friends since he was in preschool. I mean, there's a group of them, and they're still buddies. They're scattered around the country. They're all, turned into different young men at this point. But they make the effort to stay connected, even though life has, put them in different places, and they've turned into these incredible people. So one part of being a parent is that you get to see your children grow up, and it reminds you that yes, I was a kid once too. I went through all these things. And in this particular case, the friendship is so important. And, just this past week, I've been communicating with all the guys in my high school rock band.
That's cool.
It's a great thing to have that connection to your buddies that you grew up with, you came of age with, and you shared a lot of great times with, so this song was really just a celebration about having that ultimate party where all your buddies are right there, all the friends you've known since you were in school, and have been here and for you during trials and tribulations and good times and everything in life. So I wanted it to be very celebratory, but as is my way, I always think in terms of the ultimate bridge, like what is the opposite of this feeling?
Okay.
So I thought, well, of course, it's always the case that at one point someone says, well, it's too bad so-and-so isn't here, or, there's some realization that, life is also cruel and difficult. And so maybe one of your friends didn't make it. And so that's why I stuck in that minor section there. But then it turns around and becomes hopeful again and celebratory. So, it's funny when I work on songs like that. There's if you imagine like a little Joe here, a little Joe there, the angel and the devil, and the angel saying, "Go ahead, play in a major scale. It's okay to play happy music," And the devil is over here saying, "No, make it more aggro, use some scary notes, But my experience of like standing in front of 50,000 people and playing a beautiful song is so overwhelming. And when you can create something uplifting and be part of that in a live situation, it leaves a wonderful memory within you, and so I don't shy away from writing uplifting music.
This whole album is perfect for this times that we're going through, especially, man. It's a really upbeat, positive, fun, emotionally intimate record, man. I just want to ask you about one more. You had another really cool song there called Spirits, Ghosts, and Outlaws. And it's funny because I was listening to it, and of course I was biased by the title, but like I could almost envision like horses and cowboys being chased through the night with that song playing in the back. Build up is great. The climax is great. Kenny kills it in that one. Especially like near the break, near the end, he just does some really cool stuff on the drums. And that was a very cool song. What was going on with that?
Yeah. When I was describing that one to the guys, I said, we want to keep it kind of bare bones and like, just rock band. And I said, look, I know this is going to sound funny, but I just want you to think, Nicolas Cage, he's on a horse or on a motorcycle. Maybe he's on fire. I'm not sure if he's a spirit, a ghost, or an outlaw.
Yeah, man.
Things chasing him. He's out in the middle of the desert in the middle of the night. I said, just the song's just got to like take off. It's like we're just next to him during this whole thing. We're around him. We're zooming in and around him during this whole thing, and we want it to peak. Jim Scott was, he really got into the imagery of it, and he kept saying, I want to keep this like a power trio as much as possible, just keep this image of this band out there, maybe, and so everyone, I'm sure took my funny story of Nicolas Cage and everything, and they had their own way of dealing with their parts and stuff. But I think it did allow everyone to take a very simple structure and then slowly build into it. It's got some crazy finger stretches in there. I got to say it goes by you like a fun piece of music. But man, to play the riff, I mean, just like,
wow, that's impressive that you're saying that it was tough.
It was tough. Yeah. I was sitting down. I mean, when you got to sit down and crouch over your guitar, then it's a hard part.
I was curious, when a lot of what you're doing, the tone and the sonic landscape is as equally important as the actual melody. And I was curious, do you sometimes think in terms of sonic landscape and then write a melody to fit this sonic landscape you're envisioning, or does the sonic landscape come out after the melody?
Yeah, that's a really good question, because what it brings out is that I think I have written material that starts from like a million different launch pads. A song can get launched from a feeling, like we've talked about some of these other more emotional pieces. It can be a kind of a humorous fantasy that turns out sounding kind of dark and mysterious, like Spirits, Ghosts, and Outlaws. And it can be totally uplifting, like All My Friends Are Here. But every once in a while, like, you get inspired, or I do, just because my guitar sounds great or it feels great.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just the tactile thing. You go, wow, this guitar feels great today. Like, wow, doesn't always feel great. So I think about the song Big Distortion, that was written really because of the reaction of the sound I was getting. And I was standing like right there when I'm thinking about it. And
that's cool.
You can't see it, but my Marshall amp's right there. And I've got this TC pedal called Subbing Up. Just wound up being sent to me by the guys at TC. And I was just curious about this pedal. But I plugged in one day and the amp was sounding great. Guitar felt good. And I started playing, and then I step on this pedal, and then it all happened. The whole song blossomed, and it was really just a wonderful sort of explosion of creativity around the fact that I just love the complexity of distortion. Distorted guitars, it's like a waterfall of harmonic information that you just want it to keep going, and it's like, I don't know if you've ever been to Niagara Falls. When you go to the Canadian side, you can pretty much stand on the wall and you could reach out and touch this unthinkable volume of water that just keeps pouring over the falls, and I often think about that. It's when you have a great sound coming out of your amp, and the complexity of harmonic distortion is something that you just don't want it to stop, So I finished writing this song. It was really up and celebratory. I went back and I thought about, my days playing like T-Rex and David Bowie stuff with my high school band, and just all the great moments of going to concerts, and how rock bands would write songs that would be perfect for stadiums, And I put that all into that particular song, but never changed the title. So the title always said Big Distortion. And when we got to the studio and we have all these other titles with very intense names, there was that one song that said Big Distortion, and everyone would look at me like, what's that one about, Joe? Said, well, that's all it's about.
It's about big.
There wasn't any deep story behind it. It was just the guitar sounded so great that I was prompted by the tone gods to just finish it.
So I guess the answer is sometimes you do write to texture.
Yes.
That's really cool. Really cool. I mean, you get a lot of arrows in your quiver to draw from. So
we all do, actually. We everyone is a unique personality, and we have every day that we're alive, it's a unique experience of life. And the person next to us is interested in how it was for us. It's as simple as it is. So, I think it's so important for people who want to be artists and they want to get a career in music going. They have to learn to turn it on, the personal, and share with people their personal experience. They have to figure out a way to interpret how life is going for them into their music, because that's what people are interested in.
I've learned from doing this show so much from musicians like you, and especially what you said a few minutes ago of, the care sort of that you took in, extrapolating the feeling you have. And I've learned how important that is, because that's what, good musicians do. And it's like really influenced and changed my own life, to be honest with you. So every time I hear something like that, I appreciate it very much, because I'm a guy who probably didn't do that. And now I do on a regular basis, and I can see the beauty in it and in others that do the same thing, man. So thank you. Talk about your band on this record. You got Kenny Aronoff on drums. I had Kenny on here, Maniac. Chris Chaney on bass, and Eric, you're going to say his last name, Caudieu. Is that right? Eric Caudieu.
Anytime he's standing next to me and I have to introduce him, he always looks at me and goes, "What did you say?" So I don't know how to pronounce his name yet. I'm still working on it. I always say Caudieu.
Eric Caudieu on keys. So I know Chris and Eric have played with you quite a bit. Is this the first record you did with Kenny, though?
Yes, it is. Yeah. Well, Kenny and I first started working together for Chickenfoot 3, the tour. Okay. Chad Smith had recommended Kenny to fill in while he went back off with the Chili Peppers. So that's how we got to know each other. A great way to know somebody is on tour. So we had a blast on tour. And as you know, Kenny is just a tornado of good vibes.
That's a great way of putting it. Or just a tornado, period.
Force of nature. He's wonderful.
Yeah.
And so, I sort of had this idea when John McDermott called me over a year ago to do the Experience Hendrix tour. I said, well, I'll only do it if I can pick my own band and we just get to play by ourselves, And I just thought, wouldn't it be great if I could get, Doug Pinnick and Kenny Aronoff together? It would just be so cool, And anyway, it worked. It clicked. And we had such a great time on that tour. And after the first leg last March, I knew that Kenny would be the perfect guy for this album. Because I learned more about the depth of his style and his commitment to songs. How he has this incredible talent of being able to really listen to a piece of music that an artist presents him, and come up with the right parts that make it even better than you can imagine. Just because a song has to work in the end. It's not about self-promotion of all the musicians, showing off like, look what I can do. It's got nothing to do with it. It's got to be, the song has to be a success as itself. And so it means that all the musicians have to realize that, and they have to sort of surrender to the song. And he does that. And obviously he makes an absolutely amazing sound out of his drums. You and I could go up to a snare drum and bang it all day long and never get close to what he does when he just does one hit.
Yeah.
And he's so consistent that everybody thinks it's drum samples, but it's just him. It's just, he makes a great sound. He listens to everything that he hits. He never checks out. And he's just on top of it all the time. So
his work ethic is impeccable too. I know he charts everything as soon as he goes in there, and he's very.
But I have to say, we had to throw, the monkey wrench at each other all the time, because you play a song for the first time and you go, oh, that part's not going to work, and could you change that? Can you change that? So we were improvising, even though they had charts. Both he and Chris are so professional. They came so prepared. They also were able to throw the chart away and immediately, work on the new version, that we just dreamed up. So that's very important.
Great
to
band.
have it, it has to be able to have that talent,
Hey, one last question, and I'll tell people where they can get the record. I remember from our last conversation, I asked you, I said, what's your favorite song you wrote? You said, Craig, the favorite song I wrote.
Oh, what did I say?
You said, Craig, the favorite song I've ever written is the one I'm working on now because I'm giving birth to it now. I said, oh, cool. Okay, fair enough. Do you have a couple of favorites from the Shapeshifting album, though? And what do you like most?
I've been practicing, obviously, leading up for the tour. I've been practicing every day, and we're playing most of the new album in the set, and so I've been reliving these songs, and I suppose getting closer to picking favorites. But every time I go through all of them, I'm just overwhelmed with how lucky I feel that I actually recorded the album. We were so lucky that all of our schedules worked out. There were obviously other things in life going on that were always getting in the way, but somehow we got everything done. And now we're here in this very difficult situation. So to me, I look back at it and I go, wow, every song here is like a gift. I don't know how
that's beautiful, man. That's
off, it's just fate that we were able to get it done. But I have to say, I'm I can work myself into an emotional state over just about any song on the record because I know all the stories behind it, that are just so improbable. When I think about, here's the funny thing would be like, yesterday is yesterday, right? I mean, the fact that it's got whistling on it that wasn't supposed to be there, that it's got a recording of insects in a park from Molfetta, Italy, that wasn't supposed to be there, but we needed something to cover up the fact that we were lousy whistlers. And so, we added that recording I had made on my phone 2 years earlier. The fact that we got Lisa Coleman and Christopher Guest to play on it, that there's Jim Scott banging on the parking truncheon that's in his warehouse, it's on there. I mean, it's just some funny things on there. Eric Kodja playing the marxophone and squeeze box and organ, and and then I think back that I wrote that song standing right here, actually, with one foot on this chair, for no reason at all. I just walked in, picked up an acoustic guitar, decided to tune it, and all of a sudden I wrote this song and I went, wow, I should record this. I know this is really happy, but I'm just going to record it anyway. And so I each song has got a story like that makes me go like, wow, how did that happen? I'm so lucky that happened and it got documented,
Well, it's a great record, man. I really mean it. I really enjoy it. Let me tell people where they should purchase it and listen. First of all, the album's called Shapeshifting. It's an awesome record. I mean, there's some great tunes, the ones we talked about. Let me just emphasize those again. I mean, if you want to just start somewhere, Teardrops, beautiful. Waiting, beautiful. Spirits, Ghosts, Outlaws, awesome. Yesterday's Yesterday. Hear the Blue. I mean, it's a really, really cool record. I think it's a great record to listen to now, and everybody's feeling pretty crappy about everything in their life. So I think it's a very appropriate. If you want to buy the record, go to Amazon or iTunes. I think they have some unique versions of the record on both. If you want to stream it wherever you can. Also, go to joesatriani.com. The tour for the record's obviously been postponed for now, but as new information develops, it'll be on joesatriani.com /road. Man, any final comments or things about what does the devil Little Joe say about the coronavirus? The one that, what does the devil sitting on the shoulder Joe say about coronavirus?
I can't help remembering when I was a kid, I can't tell you how many times my mother used to tell me, take your fingers out of your mouth,
There you go. Moms know best.
Moms know best. She was always telling me to wash my hands and keep my fingers out of my eyes and my nose and my mouth, you know. And I always thought, why is she like freaking out about that, you know? But yeah, if my mom was here, that's what she'd be telling the whole world right about now. Wash your hands and keep your fingers out of your mouth.
That's right. Wash your hands.
Yes. Well, the little devil is saying, I told you so, you know. I told you this could happen, you know, and it's a horrible situation. I keep reminding myself that, you know, in times like this, my job becomes even more important because I have people depend on me to make music, to accompany them during the good times and these very bad times. So I'm just hard at work. I'm going to keep moving. I'm going to release the record. I'm going to talk about it with anyone who wants to talk about, you know, the record with me. And we're going to get out there and we're going to get on tour as soon as we can, of course, because we want to celebrate this music. But that's what music is for, you know, and that's my job. So while the doctors are trying to figure out how to create a vaccine and how to take care of the sick, I'll be doing my job.
You'll be taking care of the healthy.
Yeah, that's right.
Hey, man, thank you for everything. I really appreciate it. Anytime I can help you out, please come back on the show. I love the record. No bullshit. It's great. I want everybody to listen to it. It's called Shapeshifting. It came out from the time this is broadcast 1 week ago today. Buy it on Amazon or iTunes and stream the hell out of it wherever you are and celebrate Joe's music. He's a first-class human being. Let me wrap this up. Hang on, Joe. Thanks for everything, brother. Everybody, thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this, please share it on your social media channels. Check out Shapeshifting. It's a great record. Support Joe and all his music and everything he's doing. And most important, especially now, remember that happiness is a choice, and so is cleanliness, actually. So choose wisely. Be nice, go play your guitar, and have fun. Till next time, peace and love, everybody. I'm out. Joe, thanks for everything, bro.
Thank you.